reindeer of all. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose, and if you ever saw, you would even say it glows. All of the other reindeer used to laugh and call him names.
Hey, what's up guys, it's Shaksta 101 here wishing you a Merry Christmas to everyone all around the world. And guys, if I look hella tired right now, I actually hella am. After my Christmas lunch, I just went to sleep and lost track of time. Like, I'm surprised I managed to even wake up in time to record this. So guys, here, this is the special reaction video I've been talking about. We're going to be reacting to 3 creepy Christmas horror stories that happened on Christmas. So guys, I'm not really the horror kind of person, but I got my ginger beer, so let's get into this. Not that has anything to do with it. Alright guys, I already know I'm finna get scared, even though I know it's not real. I already know I'm finna get scared. Like, bro, that's the thing about these kind of stories.
Meeting my ex-girlfriend's family during the holidays was the worst weekend of my life. They lived in a different state than my ex Kaylee and I. We were on Long Island in New York. They were all the way up in Vermont. Our relationship was still kind of new, but she seemed to think it was serious enough for her parents to invite the two of us up there for Christmas.
That was so
Kaylee
me and
had
my
a really
ex
small
one time.
family, so apparently
that's
it
it
was
for
the two
another.
of us,
That's
her
another
brother,
story.
and her parents. Pulling up to the house was a pleasant surprise. The house was beautiful, and it stood on a huge, well-kept property secluded from any other houses. As Kaylee and I got out of my truck, our parents came out to the porch to greet us. First impressions, they seemed friendly and weird, an unexplainable type of friendly. The father didn't smile, but he shook my hand, patted me on the back, and said it was great to meet me. The mother hugged me, showing a lot more emotion, but something about her face was a bit off-putting. She had a really wide smile that seemed a bit exaggerated.
I hate people like that. Like,
The
fake
house was
smiles,
as beautiful
they're the
inside
worst.
as it was outside. It had a wooden lodge-type atmosphere to it. A little while later, I met Katie's brother Paul, who got home from work. He was a really socially awkward dude. He had a bowl cut and had a whole tattoo sleeve running up his arm. We had dinner, which was awkward at certain moments, but other than that, it was kind of normal. After dinner, we watched a Christmas movie in the living room.
Oh, that's cool.
I tried not to make eye contact, but I could tell Paul kept looking at me for extended periods of time, on a few different occasions. At one point, I finally looked back at him, and we locked eyes for like 3 seconds before he turned back to the TV. He was giving me the most judgmental stare I'd ever seen, and it made me only more uncomfortable. At the end of the night, Kaylee and I were in the guest room, which had an attached bathroom. Kaylee was in the bathroom. She left her phone on the nightstand. I saw she got a text from her
When he
mom,
pauses like
and for
that,
some
like,
reason,
my
feeling a
heart
bit
is beating
snoopy,
so fast right now.
I got up to read it. It was not at all what I was expecting, and it changed the whole night completely. Briefly on the screen it said, "Text from mom, do you think he suspects anything yet?" But the message quickly switched to new message.
I just
I'm
got
guessing
goosebumps.
because she had iMessage notifications set to hide once the phone locks. I wanted to read what was said before that, but her phone had a password, unfortunately. I could actually feel my heart pumping now.
Same.
Kaylee came back into the room. I kind of gave her the cold shoulder because my mind was racing. She seemed to notice. She was texting on her phone for a bit before turning out the lamp and going to sleep. I couldn't sleep though. I was rolling around for hours wondering what that text meant, and if it was about me. And what the hell was up with her brother? It was exactly 2 in the morning when I heard Kaylee get out of bed, but she was doing so very quietly. Normally I'd find this to be a kind gesture, but under the circumstances, I was finding this suspicious now. I didn't move. I pretended to still be asleep. I heard her come to my side of the bed and stand there for a few moments. then leaving the room and walking downstairs. Then I heard someone else
Guys,
walking
when
downstairs, and then another person.
I just can't help
Something
but
was
look
going
back
on.
when stuff like this happens.
I went over to the top of the stairs to listen to what was going on downstairs. There was a bunch of talking, but in very low voices.
Bruh.
I walked down a few stairs quietly. The talking was coming from the dining room by the stairs. It sounded like they were planning something. I heard Kaylee say something like, "When I go back up, you stand by the door." Then I heard her brother say something. But what was going on was really starting to hit me in the face, or at least what I think was going on. I went back to the room to grab my stuff and leave. As I was grabbing the keys, I noticed something in the corner of the room. I turned the lamp on, which exposed Kaylee's dad sitting in a chair in the corner of the room, blank expression on his face behind his glasses, staring at me. I screamed at least 4 times, "You're all crazy," as I ran to my car. I put the car in drive, practically before the car was even fully on, and floored it out of that long driveway
Those
back to
snow,
the road.
I can't believe
I didn't stop once except for gas. And at that gas stop, I checked my phone and saw Kaylee texted me saying, "What the fuck happened?" I didn't respond. Not until later that night when I got home. I said, "I don't know what you and your sick family were planning on doing to me. I don't want to know. Don't ever contact me or come near me again, and I won't report this." I said this only because I knew there was no proof at all of what happened, or what might have been about to happen. She never replied.
That was the first story, guys, and goosebumps are just covering my body right now.
It was Christmas Eve night, 1 in the morning. I was in our den watching TV because I always like to stay up extra late on Christmas Eve. To make things more festive and cozy feeling, it was during a snowstorm. I left the window open and the backyard light on just so I could also have the view of the snow in the backyard. I was focused on the TV at the moment, but through my peripheral vision, I thought I could briefly see something in the backyard. I turned to the window, but besides the falling snow, there was nothing going on out there. Still, I got up and went to the window just to be sure. Nothing. I sat back down on the couch, but now I was constantly checking the window to see if anything was outside. About 10 minutes later, I calmed down and forgot about it and reverted my full attention back to the movie. Then I heard, loud and clear, the backyard gate slam shut. Now I almost knew someone was back there. I slipped on my shoes and a jacket and went out to the backyard to check it out. There were boot marks in the snow, leading from one gate across the yard to the other gate.
Call the police.
I was not feeling brave enough to follow them, so I went back inside. As I was taking off my boots and jacket, I saw a track of wet, muddy snow on the den carpet, leading from the office to the hallway that led to the living room. That was also the way to my parents' room.
Guys,
First,
that's the
I had
difference
to go to the
between me
office
and
to see
these
how they
people.
broke in.
Anything I
So I
see
followed the
that is
boot
out of the
marks to the
ordinary
office
in
without
my
turning on
house,
any lights to make my
I
presence
call the
known.
police. As soon as
I was expecting to see one of the windows busted open, but everything was
I don't even
intact.
hesitate.
Then I realized the boot marks didn't start in this room. They ended in this room. I slowly lifted my head up to the garage door in the corner of the room. It was open, and right under the doorway, there was someone in a winter coat, jeans, and boots, squatting down as if trying to hide, back facing me, but his head turned to look at me.
Yo, he finna get your butt.
I stood there with my mouth open in horror for a few seconds before I ran for it to my parents' room, screaming the whole way there. I got my dad to come out as quickly as possible.
Oh, it's a kid,
On
I
our way
think.
to the garage together, we heard the actual garage door opening. By the time we got there, the intruder was gone. Realistically, we could have followed his boot marks, but who knows how far he'd gotten by that point. We found out he broke in through an unlocked living room window. Just goes to show, if somebody has intentions of breaking into your house, they'll find a way, which is why you should always lock all your doors and windows.
Yeah, so I'm gonna check and see if my windows are locked. Okay, so that one didn't really frighten me as much as the first one. Like that
I'm the
first one
oldest of
was
four.
really.
During the events of the story, I was 16, my younger sister was 11, and my two younger brothers were 8 and 7. My parents and their group of friends were part of a club that was basically for rich, snobby people. The club always hosted a Christmas party one night in December each year at a big fancy firehouse. Of course, for all the younger kids, like my siblings, somebody would always dress up as Santa Claus and hand out the presents that were left in a sack by a chair, which had a red blanket over it. This year, my dad's best friend Michael was dressing up as Santa. He was sitting at the same table as us, so when the time came for him to leave and get changed into the Santa suit, I saw him get up and walk out the door. There were like 20 young kids there, they never noticed. Everyone was having a good time, chatting and whatnot, kids playing on the floor in the center of the room, when the door to the firehouse opened and bells were heard jingling. All the kids jumped up yelling Santa, and in came Michael in a surprisingly unimpressive Santa costume. It honestly looked like the cheapest thing he could find at Party City.
It wasn't him.
A serious downgrade from last year. The hat and beard were alright, but the costume just seemed cheap. Not the usual costume the club supplied.
I bet it
He
wasn't
chuckled
him.
and did his best Santa impression. I had to say, he was doing a really good job of changing his voice, though. I saw a few of my parents' friends whispering to each other. Michael grabbed the bag of gifts and said in his best Santa voice he'd be right back with the presents. He sounded so different, though. He walked out the door with a bag of gifts. That's when my dad and a couple other guys ran after him yelling, "Hey!" I still didn't know what was going on. Not until my mom told me that wasn't Michael.
What did I just say?
I
This
wanted
is so
to feel
predictable.
important, I guess, so I ran outside to the parking lot as
Bruh.
well, where I found my dad and two other guys standing there, looking around dumbfounded. The man dressed as Santa was gone. The real thing they were concerned about was where Michael was. Michael's car was also missing. I asked them if they were sure that wasn't Michael. They were all positive, though. We tried calling Michael, but his phone was off. We tried his house phone after a while, too, which went to voicemail. We had to send a search party, but we couldn't find him anywhere, though. Eventually, my dad and I returned to the firehouse to pick up my mom and siblings. Just about everyone went home by then. I waited outside. I heard a scream for help in the distance. It came from the woods, deep in the woods. I ran to the tree line to scream back Michael's name. He yelled back help again. It was him. I was too excited to go back for my dad, so I ran into the woods following his screams for help, and I found him, tied to a tree
Is this
in a
man
bloody
dumb?
mess. Blood was dripping from his forehead down to his face. He looked like he'd been beaten by a blunt object. I cut the little rope with my key, and he struggled to his feet. I walked him back to the parking lot, and he screamed when he saw his car was gone. When Michael left the building planning to get changed
Bro,
into
I
the
would just be
Santa
glad I'm
costume,
alive.
he was jumped by 3 guys wearing masks, one of whom struck him in the forehead with something metal repeatedly until he was knocked out. Next thing he knew, he woke up tied to a tree in the woods. It's sick to think that 3 or 4 men could have set up a plan like this, involving harming somebody just to steal a bunch of gifts from children, some of them pretty expensive. And to add insult to injury, they stole Michael's $50,000 car.
Oh,
I felt terrible for him, and I still do. It's
well,
not
that
the kind of
sucks.
story that he can just bring up for fun. It's still a painful story to tell, even for me.
Alright guys, so that's gonna do it for this video. The link to this video will be in the description down below. And guys, this video, it wasn't really I'm glad that it wasn't really all that scary, I guess. Like there wasn't really any bad endings to say, just unknown endings, I guess. So thanks for watching guys. Please remember to leave a like, comment and subscribe, and definitely remember to enjoy the what's left of your Christmas and the rest of your holiday. So yeah, peace out guys.